Hello, welcome to the MMQB podcast. I'm Conor from a very sad and lonely New Jersey, and that's Albert Breer over in a very happy Massachusetts. He's got a playoff team to cover over there, and I got an 0-7 Jets team and just Giants fans that I can't imagine are going to get off the mat until like Tuesday or Wednesday. That was the just ultimate, brutal.
I mean, that was the ultimate, like Lucy pulling the football away, right?
Like multiple times, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like, it was just like, you're coming off like the sugar high of the Eagles win and like Scatabo and Dart taking their shirts off or whatever. And then you go into Denver and it's 19-0 going into the fourth quarter. And yeah, that was a wild one. That was a wild one for sure. I mean, I can't imagine. And now, I mean, do we have a coach in Miami? I guess it's the other thing we got to be monitoring this morning, right?
Yeah. So as of the taping of this, which started at about 9:30 Eastern time on Monday, Mike McDaniel is still the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, but that is subject to change. I don't know if, and we'll get to the Dolphins-Browns game pretty quickly here. Not very much to write home about outside of how good Quinshon Judkins played. But, I mean, after the game, Mike was as defeated a human being as I've seen, dropped an F-bomb at the podium, which is something I'm sure that, the team's sales department and the owner probably didn't appreciate, And I think we're there. And I don't know if that's necessarily an indictment of Mike. I think he's been dealt a rough hand.
Well, I guess we could start there.
Yeah, you know what? Let's start there because I think that's going to be the most significant thing. We can get to all of my depressed Giants fan neighbors in a second. To lose the way that they did against Cleveland, to get blown out, I mean, let's be real, by a Browns team that I don't know, Albert. I mean, is it fair to say aren't really putting a whole lot of effort into winning games this year? I mean, it's 31-6, and
listless. Tua looks lost. I mean, it's just like there's no. I said this before the year, and I really felt this way, and I still feel this way. It's like I don't know. It's easy to put this all at the feet of Mike, right? I think that they are like beginning a rebuild now, and I just look at their roster, and I mean, outside of like maybe a Chop Robinson or a Jalen Waddle, like who's going to be there in 2 or 3 years? You know what I mean? Like it's just that to me is like the way you can look at. That's the way you can look at this. Look at the roster and look at the state of the team and project it forward, and to be in this position that they're in, which is what 1-6. I don't know. This is one of those, like, it's a gut check game, right? It's whatever, 50-mile-an-hour winds, raining sideways in Cleveland.
It was supposed to be 50-mile-an-hour winds, and we didn't get any of them. I was pissed off. They were billing it all week like the Weather Channel, and then
we were sort of looking forward to that. Yeah, but I think it was like one of those gut check, like, all right, like let's see how bad you really want this, right? Like it's probably going to be a dead environment there. The city you're going into is, sort of given up on this year's team. So like, where are you at? And, I think for both teams, it was sort of that going in, right? And Cleveland, I think, put together the sort of performance where it's like, okay, like we have, I tweeted this yesterday, they're a leading passer, rusher, receiver, and tackler. We're all rookies.
Yeah.
Like there's some like reason now where you look at it and you're like, you look at Cleveland and you're like, okay, like there's something to build on here. What I worry about with Miami, you want me to take people through like the history of this really quick, like how this all got here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So, I think this first couple of years when they built so aggressively around Tua, as Tua was still on his rookie deal, to try to see whether or not Tua was worth giving a second contract to, I think they brought in guys who had been an issue in other places at times. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey. And I think in building the team that way, one thing Mike was good at was managing the stars, but he also became pretty permissive of the stars. Like the stars, I know some people in that locker room felt like we're playing by a different set of rules than the rest of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the end of 23, you had Vic Fangio there. And, my understanding is like like half the defense had tuned him out. Like you had Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard and some of those guys in the back end that were just sort of freelancing and doing their own thing. And so Fangio basically like forces his way out, right? Like, I'm out of here. And, like then you try to go and run it back last year with, a similar group. And I think that's where Mike started to lose the team a little bit, in that you can have that sort of star driven, setup if you're winning.
Right.
If you're not winning, like guys are going to look around and say, well, wait a minute, this guy's getting away with this and this guy's doing that. And what the hell is going on here? And so going into this season, they trade Jalen Ramsey. They try to lean in on bringing in guys who'd be good culture guys, and like trying to get the team in a place where, at the very least, you've got a good environment to build going forward with Tua. And my question now becomes, was it already too far gone to reel back in? You know what I mean? And I don't know, because it doesn't seem to me like you have the team responding the same way. And I think it's sort of a price they're paying now for building the way that they did and taking some of the characteristics that they did and then hanging on to some of those guys for as long as they did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the mind that, it's a classic deal. I mean, I was down in Miami, 2 years ago to do a cover. And I remember talking to, everyone in that building,
Yep.
from the IT staffers to the trainers to everybody. And I'd never heard people talk about a coach like they talked about Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
And I told him that. And he had like some, joke about it or whatever. But at the time, I remember thinking, okay, this is kind of revolutionary culturally, the way that he's approaching all this. But I had this realization, and I have it every time I watch Bill Belichick try to coach football game. It's like when and this is true, I think, if you even think back to any team that you've been on, right? There's only so much that a coach can do culturally. It's about winning. And, it's about putting them in a position to win. And then the culture, you adapt to whatever the culture is. Like we had a goofy coach who sometimes had like a stutter and he would say ridiculous stuff, and great guy, amazing guy.
Right.
But I think part of the culture was almost like making fun of him, and in a way, like taking his sayings and saying them in a ridiculous way. But our team was so good that it didn't matter. And so I think with Mike, like his offense the scheme was really good. You had these track players, and you were just different than everybody for a little while. And so everybody coalesced around this idea that like, oh, what's happening here is different, or it's special, or it's unique. And it was, because I think Mike was himself, which a lot of other coaches aren't. But I think it was always going to run dry, and we're going to find excuses for it when the wins aren't there. And now the wins aren't there, right?
Yeah. And like, I think the reality of part of this is stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. The stereotype of the football coach is a result of a football coach, a football coach being a certain way, right? Which it became that way because it worked at some point over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
Like in a lot of cases, and I think like there's a reason why a lot of the best football coaches have like a very dominating presence. Like, and it doesn't even need to be like a Dan Campbell or a Mike Vrabel or a D'Amico Ryans. You know what I mean? Like if you've been around, for example, Sean McVay, right? He's got presence. Kyle Shanahan has presence, right? Like, and I just think like I think to some degree, like it's okay, how far can you push this? And I don't know. I mean, I think Mike did a really good job his first couple of years there. I think he'll get a second shot. I think part of the problem now is what I think a lot of people forecast the problem to be, which was when the bleep hits the fan, can he reel it back in? Right. And I think they've had a real problem with that of late. And I don't know. And I think that's where that's where it's jarring to see him at the podium right now, is like the bleep's hitting the fan. Can he reel it back in? Or is this going to become a really crappy situation for the players that you have on hand for the next 10 weeks? And I don't know. I mean, like that, like to me, like there's two reasons why you fire a head coach in season. I think it's either one, there's somebody on your staff you want to give a run, and maybe they feel that way about Anthony Weaver. Or two, and Conor, you cover this stuff more than anybody, right? Two, you feel like the place, the culture in the building has gotten so toxic, and the coach's hold on the team is so far gone that it's going to be a bad environment for your young players for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's twofold, right? What young players? You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
that's true.
And like,
that's true.
And even, you know, it's not like the young ones that they have are knocking it out of the park right now either.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so to me, you know, if I'm Stephen Ross, it's almost like, I'm going to let you guys stew in it. I gave you the cool uncle head coach, and then you went and threw a party while he went out of town, and you got shit all over my couch, you know? Yeah. And I think that
I came back and there were 25 cars in the driveway.
Yeah. Like, what's going on here? You know? So it's a tough one for me. I will always have a kind of an unwavering respect for Mike. I think he did the job. Because again, I get what you're saying about a coach having presence, but I feel like so few of them actually have it. And then there's some people who are really good at faking it. And then there's a lot of people who are really bad at faking it. And then Mike was just like, I'm going to come in and be Mike, you know?
Right.
And I do think that there was something to be said for that.
And I respect that. It's just like, being yourself, there's two different parts to that, right? Being yourself when everything's going well is one thing. Being yourself, and does that still work when things are going poorly, is something else. I actually think Nick Sirianni deserves a lot of credit for this, because he's reeled things in a bunch of times in Philly, you know?
Yeah.
And like to me, like one thing he doesn't get anywhere near enough credit for is managing the egos and the personalities, that building the team the way the Eagles build that team, and where you're just stacking talent on talent. Like there's a cost to that, you know, which is there's going to be a lot of egos. There's going to be a lot of mouths to feed, and you're going to have to manage those personalities and find a way to bring them all together and be on the same page and play as a team. And I think that's the piece of Nick Sirianni that everyone misses, you know, and, you know, that means not just doing it in April when everyone's undefeated and excited to get going. It means doing it in October when you've lost a couple of games in a row and the team is jet lagged because the NFL has sent them all over like 6 time zones. You know, we can get to the Broncos here. And they don't want to come to work, you know? And so, you know, I'll be interested to see if Stephen Ross and Tom Garfinkel and those guys in Miami give Mike a chance to dig himself out of this hole, because it seems like it's a very deep hole right now.
We'll see.
And
like we
maybe
said,
by the time you listen to this, it'll be a moot point. We'll see. I would hope they give Mike at least a chance to dig himself out of this. You know, I know they probably want to get a look at Anthony Weaver. Anthony Weaver's enormously popular in that locker room. I do think the guys play for him, but you know, I would hope that they would give Mike at least a little bit of time to try to dig himself out of the mess he's created.
All right, let's move into Sunday, and we will update you today. We'll update you tomorrow, whatever, because we have a Wednesday / Thursday show. We never know with the NFL life. My guess, Albert, is it's going to be when you and I have to go to like the grocery store or pick up the kids because someone got sick at school.
I'll be at football practice.
Yeah, football practice. I got wrestling practice starting in a few days. So yeah, my guess is it will be something something like that. Mike McDaniel's fired. Where are you? You have your laptop? But again, blessed
I
to be a
actually
Mets.
can. I like one of my favorite ones was Aaron Rodgers was traded, and we had been waiting traded to the Jets. This was been like, and we had been waiting like how long, right? Like I think it was like 6-7 weeks, and everybody knew it was going to happen, but it hadn't happened yet. And I was on the side of a lacrosse field. So yeah,
I
I've
think
shot, and the video, and there's video that proves it out there actually too.
I think my favorite was my in-laws were over for dinner, and my wife's great. I never get flack for anything. I mean, at this point, she's seen it all. And I just remember all of us sitting down to dinner, and it was like a big spaghetti dinner. And then literally my phone just exploding, and Tom Brady had decided to unretire. And his dad was like blaming the media for his retirement. And then I was like, well, dad's got to go to work. And then he just like get up and then you just like go downstairs,
No.
shut the door, and you're like, all right, here we go. But guess what? We could be doing a real job for a living, Albert.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Instead, we get to talk about football, and we have to start.
I'm not climbing up a telephone pole here, so we're all good.
No, we have to start with Giants Broncos 33-32. The Broncos over the Giants. Giants started this game on a night with a 19-0 lead. I think the stat by Kevin Harlan is something like 1,602 straight games where a team was up by at least 18 points in the fourth quarter. That with 6 minutes to go and won the game. But you could see it, Albert. You could see it, and it started with the bad Jackson Dart interception, and then a couple plays later, Kayvon Thibodeau jumps off sides. And then a couple plays later, you got a procedural penalty where it's a delay of game. And then the pass rush stops landing. It all coalesced at once, and it was like this force of Giantsness that they were holding back for the whole game. And then they were like, "Here's our worst impulses all together at once," while the Broncos stormed back.
Yeah, and I think it's I'm looking at the game book now. I think there's a nuance to what the Broncos just did. I mentioned the time zone thing, right? That I think is so impressive, and I don't think should go unnoticed here. The Broncos just got done. Like they spent, the extra day, I believe, in Philly. They came in on Friday, right? So they were in Philly. They come back at the end of that game. They win that game at the wire, right? So they perform in the fourth quarter of that game, and they win that game at the wire. Then they go to London. They're in London all week. They beat the Jets in like a slugfest, right? Like in a game that was another 4-quarter game that they needed to win at the end. There's no foot off the gas in that one. And then they come back across, I think it's 7 time zones, right? Like from London to Denver. And they are down 19-0 going into the fourth quarter at altitude. And they come back and I just thought like that little nuance of it shows like so much of what Sean Payton's tried to build there. And I wrote this morning, like everybody focuses on the quarterback development piece of it, on the offensive scheme piece of it. Like this is what Sean Payton's trying to build. You know what I mean? Like this is like why they have 2.5 hour practices, and why they hit in training camp, and why they, all of that different stuff that he really believes in. And I look at it and I see, I just, every time they needed a play, they got one. You know what I mean? Like every time they needed a play, they got one. And the throw Nix made into that hole in the zone down the middle of the field to Mims, and then rushing up to the line and getting the ball out to Sutton. And there's something about that team where they just believe they're going to outlast you, And I even look at the comeback, the way it started. And I thought this was sort of interesting too. Again, they're down 19-0, right? I mean, the start of that next drive, Dobbins for 9, Dobbins for 5. They throw to Sutton for 16, Dobbins for 32, Dobbins for 2. It's just kind of, we're going to make this all. We always make all of this stuff about the quarterback and scheme and all that. Like this was just Denver being the tougher team, right?
Yeah. I mean, really, that's what it came down to. And the offensive line held up. And I took a little bit of an issue with, so Brian Burns after the game, the Giants pass rusher. And,
yeah, I saw that.
If we're talking about Mike McDaniel on Monday, we should also probably be talking about Shane Bowen, their defensive coordinator, a little bit on Monday. I mean, is this the kind of game that players don't respond to the point where you have to alter your approach at defensive coordinator. I don't know. He's been in the crosshairs there for a little while.
Yeah,
But
that was tough. I think for people who didn't see it, I think it was James Palmer, our buddy, right? Like who caught the video of him.
Big game James.
Yeah, big game James. That's right. But another Buckeye alum.
Please.
It was Burns was kind of like coming out of the tunnel and rounding the corner. And he said something along the lines of dropping 8. He said something about dropping 8, right? Didn't he? Into coverage.
Yeah, like basically he was upset on the last defensive drive that they were dropping 8 into coverage, which here's my thing though. Outside of the Eagles game, like this pass rush has not gotten home. And I looked at it yesterday and I looked at the numbers yesterday and I was like, okay, well, the Giants, because you watch the game and sometimes it's so frantic and it's so back and forth that you might miss some of the statistical nuance, which is why, I'll probably watch that game again today. But I was like, well, maybe he's upset because the Giants pass rush was really crushing Bo Nix or getting home. 2 sacks and 5 hits. I mean, it's not, for what you have, that's not astronomical. I mean, there were quarterbacks, there were teams that had 15, 20 quarterback hits on Sunday. And so I think it's one of those deals where I think it's one of those deals where you kind of have to earn that call from your head coach. And if not, Shane Bones can be like, listen, man, it's Sean Payton. Bo Nix was slinging it in this game. He looked as good as I've seen him. And I think over the course of the flow of the game, you could just see that he stopped thinking and he was just playing. And when he does, I mean, he's got a rifle and it's dead on. And sneaky Evan Ingram revenge play in that game too at the end. So a lot to dissect there. But I mean,
I thought you're right though. Like those two, the Knicks throws that I mentioned to Mims and Sutton were big time throws.
Mm-hmm. And I think that my hope, and there's so many broken hearts here today. We were at our community trunk or treat, or our elementary school trunk or treat. I saw like 2 or 3 kids dressed up as Jackson Dart with the paint and
the brave part.
They had like their mom's necklaces on, and there was a house by me that has like a 12-foot tall skeleton.
Their mom's necklace on. That's great.
Because he's got he's iced out a little bit,
he is.
But they had there's a house near me with like a big 12-foot skeleton, and they legitimately put Cam Scatabo jersey on it, and then they made a sign that said Cam Scataboo, like for Halloween,
and with the XO, right?
Yeah, and I was like, this is a 4th round pick out of Arizona State who was in California, and this place has completely fallen in love with him. And when they were popping their shirts off after Philly and like bumping chests with each other, I was like, God, this is as special.
It's funny who like the Giants fans have like latched on to it. Like this is the second time now, like in the last few years. Tommy DeVito was their darling before, where it's like a non-obvious,
I think that's everywhere though, right? I mean, it's like how Philly, and I predicted this because I felt like Philly would be into the unique irony of like multiple white cornerbacks, but to have Cooper DeJean and like Reed Blankenship, I was like, they're just going to go bonkers for this. And they did. Yeah. And I don't think it's a white thing. I think it's like Cam Scatabo is just like so out there and so bizarre that it just fits. And so was Tommy. I mean, Tommy was in the best possible way. He was living with his parents in Cedar Grove. And eating at the deli down the street from his house until like right before he was a superstar for 3 weeks or whatever it was.
But, well, I mean, I can speak with authority being up here with the going crazy over the white offensive player thing, because they've had quite a few here over the years.
Yeah, that's different. I mean, those guys were putting up Wes Welker and Julian Edelman and maybe a little bit less.
Have you heard about Efton Chisholm? He was he's a big star of August up here. Yeah. That name, Chisholm. I think it's Efton Chisholm III. It sounds like a midfielder at Johns Hopkins.
Is he still on the team, like in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. Yeah. I remember being really excited when he made the team, but
he's still there. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at like how often he's actually dressed. Let's see if he dressed yesterday. He was active yesterday. Yeah, he was active.
Got to feed Chisholm here, Vrabel. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
All right.
He played 10 offensive snaps. What do you know?
All right.
10 offensive
Let's
snaps,
go.
8 special team snaps. Jack of all trades, Efton Chisholm, the third.
EFC3. We go from TB12 to EFC3.
EFC3.
EFC3. Whatever. So Sunday Night Football, 49ers.
It does sound like a lacrosse player, though, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course it does. The 49ers 20, Falcons 10. I continue to say that this remains, and I'll loop Robert Saleh in here, but just a coaching masterclass on behalf of the 49ers. This might be
remarkable.
Kyle Shanahan's best season. And that's saying a lot. I mean, this guy's been in the Super Bowl, 3 times? Since 3? Since he's been in the 49ers? 2?
Two. They lost to the Chiefs both times.
Lost to the Chiefs both times. To be able to lose Fred Warner and then to play probably the second best running back in the NFL, and not just the second best running back in the NFL, but literally the engine of their entire passing game. I mean, the offense goes through Bijan like the Knicks offense goes through Jalen Brunson. Like, it has to touch his hands almost every time. And so to be able to hold him to, I think it was under 100 total yards. So 52 receiving yards, 40 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. He didn't gut you. His longest rush was 8. And then the longest reception was 15. And then on the other side, to just continue to generate touches. I mean, this stat line from Christian McCaffrey, and if he doesn't win comeback player of the year, I mean, shit, he's on a short list for MVP in my mind,
for sure,
along with Jonathan Taylor, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that was like one thing. I had Kyle Juszczyk on the phone after the game last night, and I actually, I asked him, like, how crazy is it that you've lost Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and Kittle just got back and they still haven't had Ayuk out there yet. You know, like all the guys that have been out, you know, obviously Brock Purdy too. And he stopped me and he goes, but we still have Christian McCaffrey. You know what I mean? Like, and it was just like a very simple matter of fact statement, but we still have Christian McCaffrey, you know? And he's been out there every week, you know, which I think is a little bit of an upset considering what he went through. I think we all thought, like, oh crap, like last year, like, at least was part of my thought process. It has a weird injury. And, you know, he did the whole going over to Germany thing and all that. And I don't know, like you sort of felt like, all right, this guy's workload and the mileage on his body is so high now. You know, there's just no way that he can come back in year 9 and be this again. And I mean, I'm looking at it here, Conor. What is it? 201 scrimmage yards on 31 touches, right? Do I have that right? Is my math right?
I think so. Your math and me is not a good, and it's not a good mix.
And then again, like we talked about the end of the game with Denver, and at the end of the game, that 15-yard run right up Main Street to finish the Falcons. You know what I mean? Like I think he deserves a ton of credit.
That performance, it was interesting too, because and again, you can't, I hate being, I'm not going to be one of those people. How about we put it that way? I refuse to be one of these people where Zach Robinson moves down to the sideline. You wrote about this, and you see kind of an unlocking of this offense, and you see the team operate in a way that makes you think that they've got it figured out. And then you score 10 points against Robert Saleh. And I hate the immediate, like, oh, now it's broken again. They're making the same mistakes. And it's like, well, no. I mean, the Falcons normally are able to run the ball, and so there's this stat where it's your neutral play calls. What are you doing in neutral situations where you could run or pass? They're a super run heavy team. Last night, they found themselves in a lot of positions where they had to throw the ball when they didn't want to. And that's a recipe for disaster, especially with a quarterback who has yet to play a full season in the NFL. So am I freaking out that Michael Penix had 241 yards and a touchdown, and the team had whatever, 62 rushing yards, which wasn't great. But I'm not freaking out about this. I'm not saying that this is the end of the world because your fantasy team didn't have a good day. In fact, I'm thrilled because I was playing Drake London. I'm hanging on by the skin of my teeth here in a tight one. But you know, I think I hate the way that when a team loses, especially the Falcons, after a couple big wins, and we're all of a sudden like, oh, this is shit here. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's just a bad game.
Yeah. Look at your phone. Just wanted to give you a little flavor for the local news here and in Boston, what's going on right now.
Oh, Albert, put your shirt. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. What'd you text me?
Did it come through yet?
Yeah, it's a long way away. It's got to come back. Halloween skeletons poke fun at Bill Belichick. See that?
People
New England, of all places, you guys all warmed your butts thinking about that guy for 20 years and all got all hot toddy because he was your head coach and you all acted like terse little dicks because that's how he acted at the podium and he empowered you to be that way. And now you make fun of him after he gifted you 6?
This is along the same lines as the Zach Robinson thing. That is what you're saying.
Well,
an overreaction or an overcorrection on opinion.
Well, it's an overcorrection on an opinion, but like with the Patriots, it's like everybody else should be making fun of him, but not you.
Yeah, I just thought the skeleton making that pose was the one that got me because they were showing like a montage of all these.
There were some good ones.
Yeah, and that one got me. No, I'm with you though. Like I think there's still a ton of potential for where they can go. And I think the problem that Penix is going to have now is he's going to be held up against Daniels in May. And that's a tough bar to clear right now, especially when you were a guy who was in college for 6 years. Are you concerned at all about Penix? He seems like, this is my opinion. I remember people saying this to me when he was coming out. And they said it's the weirdest thing. I remember I had somebody, a really smart evaluator who I trust, a quarterback, say this to me. He's like the 3-point shooter who misses a ton of layups. And
that's a good one.
I can see it now. I mean, he misses a lot of the routine throws, and you wonder if you can coach that out of him, if it's a footwork thing, a timing thing. But he had pretty good coaching in college. You know what I mean? Like, and he was in college for a long time and had a chance to develop over a long period of time. And I don't know. I mean, like, if you're going to do what the Falcons did, which is invest $45 million a year in Kirk Cousins and then double down and go and get Michael Penix and then pull the ripcord on Cousins less than a season in and go to Penix. Like the next logical step is Penix being a really competent quarterback right away, especially given how much experience he had in college. This wasn't like a 25 start guy in college. You know what I mean? Like he had the same level of experience that Jaden Daniels did, which I think is a big part of why Jaden Daniels had so much success early on. So I don't know. I mean, I like that they're getting more out of Kyle Pitts now. I think Drake London's he's not like a true number one, but he's a functional, option, a functional, primary option for you at receiver. I think their offensive line's pretty good, even without McGarry in there. Do you get the feeling he's holding them back a little? Like if Bijan doesn't go off, like, can they win?
We'll see. Right. I watched it was the Panthers game, I think it was. And I remember going back.
Because I feel like when Penix plays, sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like when Penix plays well, it's usually the sidecar to a huge Bijan game. I'd have to look this up. I don't know this for a fact. But I feel like when Penix has played at a high level, it's usually been kind of as the sidecar to Bijan going completely nuts, you know?
Yeah. I think this. I think it goes well with your layup analogy and I remember when the Panthers game happened, like there always is, there was that pronounced divide, right? And it's just like, this is a Penix problem, or this is a Zach Robinson problem. And even like Orlovsky and a lot of the some of the film grinders were on Team Penix. And I think that's also natural. If you played the position, you tend to side with the quarterback. And I'm not saying that Dan's not good. Dan's great. But I remember just going back and watching the cut-ups again and again. Like whatever, NFL Pro does a good job of just giving you the passing plays. And I remember going back and watching them like every play a couple times. And I'm thinking, again, I'm not an NFL quarterback, but I was like, I think I see where the ball is supposed to be going. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, there, 1, 2, 3, there. And I don't see him. He's not moving a lot. I don't, the offense is weird in that they do a lot. They're second or third most in pre-snap motion, but then it almost never results in play action. They're one of the lowest play action teams in the NFL. And so I don't know. The whole thing to me is like, is it not being put together the right way? I don't know.
That was the other thing about him that was sort of interesting. I thought, at least, right, coming out, is that, I don't know if you remember, but like, he runs that 4.5 40, and a lot of people were floored and didn't think he was that athletic because he didn't move much in college. You know what I mean? Like, and he'd been hurt a bunch, and that was part of it. But like a lot of people I know that as evaluators looked at it and said, like, yeah, it was a little surprising that he ran that well, because he doesn't play that way. And that, like, in that offense, which is gonna call on the quarterback to move around a bunch. Like, are they retrofitting it for him because he's better from a stationary position, playing a drop back game?
I don't think he's better from that position, though. You know what I mean?
But that's what he was, though. Like, he was sort of this assassin in college. Washington, with those receivers with Adunze and Polk and McMillan, like, he was sort of this assassin who could kind of, make you defend the whole field from the pocket.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, it still feels wonky to me. It just still feels wonky to me. And I'm interested to see where he goes, because I was really excited about him coming into the year, because what they said in camp was, this kid's got uncanny vision. He can get deep into his progressions. He sees the field so well. And maybe it is just that. Maybe it is just like physically missing throws. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem quite all the way right. And give him time, because it's still just his second year.
Let's get through some of the other big ones from the weekend. God, we got I'm actually really excited for the Monday night doubleheader for this one. Again, it'll be a battle.
I think the night game's great too.
I do too. I think it's going to be a battle of wills.
Obvious, right? That's the best game of the weekend. But like, I think the nightcap, or at least like the quarter and a half that I'll be able to keep myself awake for, is going to be awesome.
It's going to truly be a battle of wills. It's going to be Conor against Conor tonight at 10 p.m. when Texans
beat Breer in a hotel room. Will the M&Ms from the convenience store be enough to keep him awake?
I was really nervous you were about to say mini bar, and I was like, please don't tell me you're a mini bar guy.
I didn't know what do I call it? The kiosk? What do I call the little thing to the side of the check-in desk? That's what I was searching for.
Well, especially if you're a Marriott member, you get a free. Do you take advantage of your free?
No,
item?
I just get the points every time.
No. But regardless, you get a free item from that shop.
Really?
Yes, you get one free item.
I thought it was a choice. You either points or an item.
No, you get points or breakfast, and then
right. Okay,
and then you get a free item. And
what do you usually pick off with the item?
So I pulled a baller move the other day, and I just want to brag about this really quick, and it's probably going to get me blacklisted for Marriott forever, but I had assistance doing this. I booked we're going to a bar mitzvah, and I booked like my wife for months was like, did you book the room? Did you book the room? Did you book the room? And I'm like, it's bar mitzvah. It's not going to sell out. Like it's like a hotel outside of like Mount Laurel, New Jersey. We're good. I'm not worried about it. Book the room. Yeah. I got it. 2 days before the bar mitzvah, she's like, did you book the room? And I was like, yeah. And so then I called the hotel to book the room, and it's been sold out for weeks, right? It's like there's like 3 bar mitzvahs, like travel across, like this thing is slammed. So I call I called the whatever, like the highest I could get on the food chain, and I was like, I know you guys have, because I didn't just need one room, I needed two rooms because I had
Yeah.
to book it for my in-laws too, and I needed two conjoining rooms, and I called like top of the food chain, and I was like, listen, I know that you have like that one room that you have to save in case, like, you know, the crown prince comes over, right? And I was like, I need that room, and I need two of them, and you just need to make this happen for me. And so the guy was like, well, it comes with like three, it's at this point it's like a 3-night minimum. And okay, so you got to do 3 nights, and then you got to do all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, whatever. At this point, I don't care because it's just not worth me getting in trouble. So I book like.
Yeah, but if you have status, you can do the 3-night minimum. You could do the 3-night minimum and then like call
So
the
that's
rewards number.
that's what I did. Did the 3-night minimum, booked the 3-night minimum, went to the hotel, and got my free items for the entire 3 days, right? Because
I was wondering where the payoff was going to be.
Because it's you get the water, right? You get like a water a day, I think it is, right? But I got 3 people staying in my in-laws' room. I have like a million kids at this point. Like my room was a zoo. And so I was like, okay, so I'm getting the 6 waters, and then I'm going to send that away. I'm going to check in, and then I'm immediately going to cancel the other the 4 nights that I don't want. And
no, so you can always get water though. You can always get free water. They just have a different brand of water. They're in those smaller bottles. But if you want, like, I'd be getting in from a run or whatever, and like they'll give you, I can't even remember what the logo is. It's like a light blue label on it, and they're smaller. But the guy will give you like 4 of them if you want them. So it's just not Poland Springs or Dasani or whatever they have in the fridge.
My guess is it's all pretty much water. But just
I'm old enough to remember when it was considered outrageous, when bottling water and charging people for it was considered outrageous.
Same. Just don't nobody listening to this tell Marriott what I did. Rams 35, Jaguars 7. I thought that this was probably one of the more consequential games of the weekend, because we're seeing what happens, and I kind of flagged this last week, where what happens to this Jaguars offense when they stop getting like 3 extra possessions a game to work with, and the turnover well runs out. And this is what happens. And this is Matthew Stafford was unbelievable in this game. 182 yards, but 5 touchdowns, 117 quarterback rating. And again, this is no Puka Nacua. And we
Devontae Adams' stat line's hilarious too.
Yeah, 5 catches, 3 touchdowns,
35 yards.
35 yards. The Rams are hilarious, because if you, like, let's say you put an eye patch on one of your eyes and you just took away the touchdown column and you showed somebody what the Rams stat line looks like every week, you're like, oh, that team definitely lost. and every week they're just destroying people, and they look so good. They look super efficient. I mean, the story obviously here was the defense. You had 11 quarterback hits, 7 quarterback sacks. Trevor Lawrence looked like Russell Wilson in this game, Albert. Like he was just running into pressure.
My favorite stat of the week, before the Travis Hunter touchdown, right? The Jaguars had gotten into Rams territory 6 times and had 0 points.
Wow.
That's insane. Like that's like, I mean, I'm not saying 0 touchdowns, 0 points.
Right.
So they couldn't even get a field goal out of it. And it's because the Rams turned them over. The Rams created negative plays. I mean, it's just, I think Chris Shula deserves a lot of credit. Like, I think Chris Shula has done some things to evolve the defense as it was under Raheem Morris there, and developing the young guys. And, like they keep finding guys that like Landman, like who keeps making big plays. He had a sack and a half. Quentin Lake, like obviously has been a piece for them for a couple of years now. He's all over the place. Byron Young, a sack and a half. Obviously, everybody knows about Verse and Fisk, and it's just it's almost like when you watch them, they're like an old school team that can tap Matthew Stafford on the shoulder when they need to and say, go win the game for us. Like they don't need him to throw for 300 yards every week. Like they have like a very distinctive play style. And I actually think some of it, like now, this is based on a few things I know, but a couple of years ago, Sean McVay went from being very sports science centric and very into, we got to manage these guys' workloads, to, well, wait a minute, we're getting our teeth kicked in by the Niners all the time. And Kyle is running like Braveheart practices up there in Northern California. Maybe we should look at doing more of that. And Mike LaFleur, who had been with Kyle Shanahan for the early years there, was hired as the offensive coordinator. And I think the team you're seeing now is different than past Rams. Like, this is a team that's very physical and that doesn't need Matthew Stafford to throw for 300 yards to win. And I think that's a scary thing for the rest of the NFL, because as the weather gets worse and we start to get towards the end of the year and attrition starts to hit, like, this is a play style that doesn't go away. You know what I mean? Like, as long as they have decent injury luck, their ability to win up front on both sides of the ball, their ability to grind you on offense, their ability to get after you with their defensive front. And now, like, Stafford and Nakua and Adams are almost like a, oh yeah, if we don't beat you with that, like we'll hit you with this. Like, that's a team that can win a Super Bowl, you know?
Yeah. They remind me of, like, I think the analogy that finally made sense to me and will definitely appeal to you as a New Englander is they are very skilled at playing box lacrosse. Like, there are teams that are trying to play full field lacrosse, and the Rams are incredible at box lacrosse. It's like, okay, give me a small space to operate in. I'm going to maximize everything. I'm going to maximize my space in small confines. I'm going to manipulate it. I'm going to make it harder for you. And I'm going to score 50 goals like the Rochester Nighthawks.
We just got hit up. Our kids playing in like a box lacrosse tournament in Philly, and like another one in Connecticut in the winter. And we just got hit up for a bunch of new equipment we got to buy them. I don't know why we need to get them a new helmet. Looks like a hockey helmet. But yeah, got an email on that just a couple days ago.
Fantastic.
Yep.
I can't wait to see what I got for. Yeah, we got wrestling coming up.
You wait. As your kids get older, yeah. There's have your credit card information ready.
The best part is, I mean, I'm the track coach, and so I'm just gonna be like, hey, let's just keep doing that, because kids running shoes are $40 at DSW, and they last you for the whole season, and you don't need anything else. Period. But yeah, well, we'll see what happens if we get lacrosse on the docket.
I honestly think, like, the Rams just, like, despite them losing the games and look, like, I think that Colts game could have gone either way. Obviously, the Eagles game could have gone either way. The Niners game could have gone either way. So those are coin flip games. And again, like, I think if we're saying how close they would be to being undefeated, like, you got to acknowledge the other side of it too, which is like they kind of stole the Colts game, right? But
sure,
the rest of them, they've won pretty convincingly now. And so, I look at where they're going, and they get the Niners again. They're going into their bye. They get the Niners again in a few weeks. Like, the NFC West is going to be entertaining down the stretch. Like, I'm excited to see the way this plays out, because Seattle's a very real factor in there too.
I just have one thing here on the Jaguars side. I wonder, and there's kind of a little bit of like deep Twitter sleuthing speculation here, that Brian Thomas is just really hurt. Like, that there's something that he might be playing through that we just don't know about, because this is nuts. And I dislike a lot of these advanced statistics, because I feel like, stripped of context, they don't really tell you anything.
I agree. Like, it doesn't say like, well, like, if we throw the ball in this situation, then it's got X percentage of chance of success. Well, were you running the ball well too when you were throwing it in that situation? Because it's going to be easier to throw the ball if you're running it. Like, there's just so much. It's hard to separate football that way. Like, and if you try to, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm with you. Long story short, we're gonna have a longer conversation about that, but I'm with you.
But Ted Seth, who I think does a really good job, he had that catchable targets over the middle of the field to Brian Thomas Jr. have a negative 17.1 completion percentage over expectation. That's the second worst of any pass catcher in the NFL. And Brian Thomas is not a tough person. And I just wonder, I mean, we saw him kind of nursing his shoulder. We know that he had landed on it at some point, I think over the summer. I just wonder if there's something there that he's just
There
gutting
might
through.
be, yeah. I mean, that's a good call. Like he's not the same player because he was an aggressive, violent.
You don't just stop going.
No,
like
and he was,
you know what I mean?
He was an aggressive, violent player as a rookie, you know, and that was even with, if you remember, he came into the league with, was it bad shoulders, bad knees, something like that. Like he had some stuff that like dropped him. That I remember it because I reported on it, and then somebody reported something else to cover up for him and his agent or whatever. But he did have some things that he was dinged on physically that he was dealing with, you know, and you know, you wonder if some of that stuff maybe has resurfaced too.
One more that we should get to that I felt like was of consequence was the Eagles-Vikings game. And this one was funny to me because it's like living in two completely different realities, where if you're in Philadelphia, it's like Jalen Hurts, which I didn't realize, next to Nick Foles and Donovan McNabb, the third perfect QB rating in Eagles history.
Okay, so that's great because Nick Sirianni told me after the game that he said, and I didn't look it up because it was too late. Like, and I wish I had a research department to call on this. He said it was the first time he thought it was the first time he'd ever had anybody with a perfect passer rating. So that at least checks out with the Eagles thing. Now I'm not sure, you know, what he might or might not have seen with, you know, the guys he was with in Indianapolis, which would have been like what, Luck, Brissett. Maybe he wasn't with Wentz, but Rivers, and then he was with Phil Rivers in San Diego too. But yeah, I'm glad you said that because it does validate what he said to me last night.
This game is one that absolutely drives me nuts, though. But let me finish my previous point. So you have the Eagles being like, everything is perfect, and we fixed everything, and we're throwing the ball deep. Awesome. The Vikings lost by 6, and there were multiple touchdowns taken off the board in that game on BS calls. And I'm with TJ Hawkinson that I thought that that was a
spectacular effort.
That was a incredible effort. And while I guess you and I can't have it both ways, Albert, we can't pound the table and be like, Sky Judge, Sky Judge, Sky Judge. And then when New York calls in and overturns a catch, we can't be like, get out of here, you know? And so I understand it.
But yes, we can.
Okay, tell me how I can have my cake and eat it too, please.
Because New York is dealing with a ton of different things all at once.
And you're saying Sky Judge is game flow specific.
The Sky Judge is calling things in the flow of the game and working with the official. Yes.
All right.
And I think there's something to that. And I think having that person as a part of the officiating crew would make it more efficient. And you don't want me to get into my officiating rant because I'm really upset with it right now. And I have been for the last 3 or 4 weeks because I think it's ruining the best sport on the planet. My overarching opinion on this is that technology should make the game more efficient, not less efficient, more streamlined, not less streamlined. And instead of working creatively to get there, what the NFL has just done is it's just made it additive. It's just, well, let's just throw it on top of everything else we have. And you see the result.
Yeah. And then there was a bad, I think it was like a holding call or something like that. That was really just like unappetizing. I was really disappointed in that one too. So in a lot of ways, it's like you almost did lose this game to Carson Wentz. Like, you know, and what really bothers me, and this is a hill that I'm going to die on, but why we don't treat the Eagles like the Chiefs. And I get it. Chiefs won back-to-back Super Bowls. They've won 1 billion Super Bowls, whatever it is. The Eagles have been there twice in the last 3 years, and yet we never give them they'll figure it out offensively, benefit of the doubt.
Right.
And the Patullo thing drives me crazy because it's like, you know, I don't know. I get mad because like when AJ Brown doesn't get any targets, you know, he gets to sit at his locker and then be like, oh, I'm not talking to anyone today. And then go home and tweet a Bible quote about like being ignored or whatever. And then this is just like, oh, I'm not causing any drama. And then you go and create drama, or you read a book on a side, you know, and there's this whole song and dance that goes with these receivers not being fed. But part of the reason that they have games like this, and both of them are going to have 1,000-yard seasons, Albert, they always do, is that when you develop, and Kevin Patullo was a play caller for 6 weeks. So, okay, you're going to develop tendencies that you then correct and destroy people on by reversing those tendencies.
Yeah.
So, perfect example. Like how many weeks in a row they're not throwing the ball from under center with play action. They're not throwing the ball from under center and play action. Well, here's a game where they need it, and they use play action, and they threw the goddamn ball, and no one was within 10 feet of Devonta Smith, and he scored a touchdown. Like, that's how this is supposed to work, right? I mean,
yeah.
am I insane?
I think it's just having answers too. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's why you build the roster this way. We mentioned about Sirianni and what a good job he does of managing all the egos. And like, I think people who think that they're going to trade AJ Brown in season are out of their minds. That's how you've built this team. Like, that's Jalen Carter being on the roster. It was managing some of the stuff with Darius Slay. It was all of the different stuff that you've dealt with. Like, if you're going to build the roster that way, there are going to be a lot of egos that you're going to have to work with. And the payoff is the balance that you have, where, like, if the run game isn't quite right or isn't where you want it to be, which clearly it isn't where it was last year, because last year was at a historic level, you have another answer. You can kind of rework the offense and figure out who you need to be and what you need to lean into. And I think that's really where they are right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, like, well, we can't just, roll the ball out and rush for 200 yards every week. So how do we work this a different way than we did before? And, lo and behold, Jalen Hurts perfect passer rating against a Brian Flores defense. And then the two receivers combined for over 300 yards.
I just think it's one of those deals, Albert, though, where it's like giving a kid what they ask for when they want dessert for dinner. And then the expectation is going to become that it's going to be this every week, which is unrealistic also. And then Eagles fans forget, and I know I'm stepping on a hornet's nest here, but then they forget the games where Jalen Hurts, they know that Jalen Hurts has to throw for the entirety of the game, and he's under pressure for half of the snaps, and he makes some kind of not great decisions, right? I mean, I think part of the revolution here when the Eagles won the Super Bowl was that they took an insane amount of they put responsibility on his plate, but in the ways that empowered him, and they took away the need for him to throw the ball 40 times a game.
Well, right. That was it. And that's just
why are we trying to go back there?
That's just it. It's like that everything does run through the run game. And so you can still have a game where you rush for 45 yards, which was the number yesterday, and have that run game materially affect the way that you're being defended in the passing game. And I think that's 100% what it was. And it's the ability to say, it's not like, let's drop back and throw it 45 times. Like, it's, which like is kind of like that old dumb let Russ cook thing, which was like totally dismissing the fact that so much of what they did with Russell Wilson in Seattle over the years was based on how well they were able to run the ball
and hiding him from his worst impulses.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And in this case, it's sort of like there's some similarity there in that, like, okay, like, so you only ran the ball for 45 yards and 2 yards a carry, but did the run game affect the way that the defense was handling you? And yes, the answer is yes, it did. And, so that creates an environment where they still only, you had the 3 sacks and had 26 called pass plays, and they're able to throw for over 300 yards. There's an efficiency to that.
I agree. I just, whatever. That's my rant.
And it allows you to be aggressive at the end too, right? Like where they're in that 4-minute situation and they throw the ball down the field to AJ Brown to put them away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, is anyone on 4th and 1 gonna cover AJ Brown? This is like, every single time that, and that's the other thing that, oh God, I'm gonna just like, whenever he's in when he's in single coverage in those situations, they throw him the ball, and they throw him the ball deep on 4th and 1. If you don't think that is the epitome of faith in you, I don't know. I don't know what you're looking for. Anyway, I have to cool off here. So the Packers beat the Cardinals 27-23. The Green Bay has a very satisfying 4-1-1-1-1-1 record. So 4-1-1, and then they are 1-1-1. One and one at home, or one, yeah. Right? 4-1-1. And then they're 1-1-1 away, which is great. I love that. So on ESPN, the way that it has it, it just says the Green Bay Packers 4-1-1, 1-1-1. They beat a Cardinals team that now the two best passing outputs of the season are both by Jacoby Brissett. And the team looks better, but then Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison were starting to develop a rapport before he got hurt, and Marvin Harrison was 2 catches for 6 targets here, and are Cardinals fans going to fall into the same trap as Eagles fans, where they need 3 specific guys to get the ball all the time to make themselves feel better? I don't know. But
I mean, I think it does at least invite like the big picture questions on where they're going. You know what I mean? At quarterback. And I think whoever is pulling the strings at the end of the year is going to have to deal with that. I think the Packers are, I think they're like still figuring out who they are. And I think that's the scary thing about like where they're at. You know what I mean? Like, I still feel like they can be so much better. And, you go through like that high of the post-Parsons trade, and then you have the 2 wins in 5 days. You beat the Commanders at home on that Thursday night. And all right, here we go. And we're becoming a really dominant team. And then you get knocked back off of your pedestal. And, like you lose to the Browns, like bad loss to the Browns. You have the tie against the Cowboys. And you go into the bye, and it's like, okay, who are we? And I think they're starting to figure that out, Parsons has a huge game here, which kind of tells you he's settling in. And I mean, I think Jordan Love's ability to win the game at the end means something here, because it wasn't a perfect afternoon for him either. Tucker Kraft looks like he's becoming a star for them. I think there's still a lot of upside. There's still like a lot of meat on the bone with the Packers,
No doubt. We will see what happens here with Arizona. It's just such a weird team. I mean, if you go back and you change a few things, I mean, this team is not that far away, and I know that sounds crazy. They're not that far away from maybe vying for first place in the division, and they're also not that far away from being the worst team record-wise in the NFL. This is just a bizarre season. For those of you
5 losses in a row, and they're into their bye, and then coming out of the bye at Dallas, Seattle, San Francisco. At Seattle, then San Francisco. Yeah.
I mean, Arizona was electric on 3rd down. This was a Trey McBride game for them, but just not enough. We got next, Albert, on our list, the Commanders and the Cowboys. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, to me, the takeaway here is we don't. The Commanders' defense is unsustainably bad at this point. The Cowboys' offense is awesome. Clayton Adams, a longtime resident on the Conor Orr Rising head coach's list, continues to cook with this running game. Javonte Williams with 116 yards. CeeDee Lamb with 110. He had the big 74-yard guy in there. But this Commanders team, really. I mean, without Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota, the magic kind of wore off. 4 of 10, 63 yards. Got sacked twice, threw an interception. We'll see on that one. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know where to go with that one, other than to say that they need some. If they want to contend this year, they got to patch up that secondary via the trade deadline, and I don't know how many opportunities.
I don't know how much
good corners are floating around there.
Well, I don't know what you can do either. After you already traded for Marshawn Lattimore, you already traded for Larry Tunsil, you already traded for Deebo Samuel, so you've sort of pushed your chips in, and all 3 of those guys were older, and so like Lattimore very clearly has not lived up to what they were hoping. It's almost the point now where is he going to be there next year? I think it's an open question. Like I almost feel like Conor with them defensively, like the jumps are going to have to come internally. it's going to have to be guys, like Mikey Sanders still, like Trey Amos, like that's where I think you're going to have to see the jumps. It's going to have to be the young guys, because I don't know how many times you can trade for veteran players that way. And, like last year, they were able to make it happen with a bunch of players that they had connections to, right? But those guys were older too. Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, who's now gone, Bobby Wagner. I like. There's definitely a lot to look at there, and I don't know if you're them, if now's the time to be pushing your chips into the middle of the table on another older guy.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. There was an analyst out there named Conor that was saying that he was suspicious of that strategy in the offseason, got a lot of flack in DC, and don't worry, I kept the receipts. Not something that keeps me up at night or anything, but
how about Dak Prescott for MVP?
Yeah, I mean, literally, Mike Garafolo
playing really high level.
Mike Garafolo at NFL Network blasted me for not updating my fantasy lineup in the league that we're in for 3 straight weeks, and that, fair. But I left Dak Prescott in, and I think I won 2 of those games, and I only had like 3 guys. But yeah, it's almost like Jerry Jones should have, I don't know, kept his best players because he got an otherworldly quarterback performance that if he had a normal defense, I don't know, we might be talking about the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl.
Well, I was just going to say, I thought Dak's second in the league in yards. And I was like, oh, he's got a 107 quarterback rating, so he's got to be way up there. Do you realize that is the 9th best quarterback rating in football right now?
Well, when you got Danny Dimes out there, Albert, it's just,
Dimes is in the mix. Well, no, Dimes is 10th.
Oh,
Dimes is 10th. Yeah.
Wow.
Lamar Jackson is first. Jared Goff is second. Drake May is third. Sam Darnold's fourth.
Lamar's sitting on it, he hasn't played in a couple weeks.
Right, he hasn't. So Lamar's sitting on it. So Goff is I don't know what the qualifying number is, but Goff would be number one of the guys who've played the full season. Obviously, he still has to play his Week 7 game, as does Sam Darnold. But that's a lot of players. I remember when getting 100 quarterback rating was like, whoa, you're really killing it. There are now 14 quarterbacks with 100 quarterback rating.
Yeah. That's like when you used to be like, wow, a baseball player made $1 million. And now they're worth half as much as Amazon. The Colts with a really impressive 38-24 win over the Chargers. I'll just say this: they remind me a little bit.
You're the Colts guy.
Well, yes, I'm the Colts guy. Appreciate you mentioning that yesterday. I
actually edited the tweet. I don't know if you noticed that, but I actually edited the tweet to add it because I was like, I was gonna do a quote tweet or whatever. I'm like, Conor would appreciate this if I put it in the original tweet. So added that in there for you.
If you're on a network morning show or and you from the beginning of the year very loudly support a team, they usually send you a box of stuff, and I haven't heard from CGI yet, Carly Gordon Ursay, but I would, I'm just saying, there was nobody. There was nobody.
Isn't CGI graphics? Is that right? It wasn't that what?
Aren't those her initials? It's CGI, right?
I think you're right. Yeah. Does anybody call her that?
No,
I like it though.
Start.
I like it though. Yeah. CGI.
I love her, by the way. I think she is.
Yeah,
awesome.
She had quite the outfit yesterday in LA.
But I think it
was very Los Angeles.
Everyone is pushing back on me against this. I think it's a full commitment to the bit, and I think that she is unintentionally intentionally hilarious.
Should she add a laminated sheet?
I don't know what she was carrying around, but I love.
Did she have a laminated sheet? No, she didn't have one. Right?
Someone should get her one. This I don't know if you're going to like this comparison or not, but I'm going to make it anyway. the Colts are last year's Eagles because they have just a dominant run game, and they're going up against a lot of teams that are showing them light boxes because they're afraid of dimes, which is just insane to continue to say. But the Chargers are a light box defense, right? They like to try to make up for it in other ways, but against the Colts, you can't really do that. I mean, Jonathan Taylor was second level on every carry and just he was unstoppable. Another three touchdown game.
They had an answer for everything.
Everything.
The Chargers scored to pull back to within 2 touchdowns, and then Amir Abdullah has a long kick return to set up another touchdown. Then the Chargers drive the field again and get it back down to 2 touchdowns. Then I believe they went like 75 yards in 5 plays, and Taylor had the touchdown to cap that one. And then they then DeForest Buckner at the end of the game has the sack to kind of put them away. Like it's more than just talent. It's also like there's just like a toughness to the team, like where they continue to counterpunch, and there's like a relentlessness to it that I think it's time to stop doubting them. They're not just beating teams, they're bludgeoning teams,
To see, and everyone was like, oh, Justin Herbert's staging a comeback. He got his ass kicked on almost every throw of that fourth quarter. Like there were guys in his face. They need
Joe back in a bad way.
I think if I were the Colts, I would try to get Trey Hendrickson.
Ooh, wow! I don't think the Bengals will be trading him after Flacco's Thursday night.
Yeah, but if he's out there, I mean, I'd like to see them get one more edge rusher to help out Latu a little bit. But anyway, Colts roll 38-24. I mean,
Connor's
whatever.
Colts.
Connor's Colts. Panthers 13, Jets 6. I don't have much to say about this, Albert. I mean, this is
their first time over 500 in 4 years.
You nailed it. You looked it up on the show, and I was very happy to see you tweet it then, and that you already had that information, which is great.
Yep. Thanks to the MMQB podcast, that information is readily available.
That's right. Aaron Glenn makes his first really big coaching decision 2 quarters after saying he's not going to bench Justin Fields. He benches
and got into a fight
Justin
with
Fields.
A reporter over it, right?
Brian Costello, the New York Post, not just a reporter,
it was Kaz,
an institution. So justice for Kaz on that one. Very happy for Brian, but Tyrod Taylor came in, and I'm not sure if the game plan was, hey, throw it at like the 3rd best cover corner in the NFL over and over again, but they did. He threw 2 picks to JC Horn. Bad underthrows too, and I don't know if Tyrod maybe he needs to get warmed up, and you can't put him in the 3rd quarter like that. But those balls were out of gas, and he just laid him up for JC Horn, and that guy's going to make those plays 10 times out of 10.
I hadn't looked at the box score. So Justin Fields had a 59.7 quarterback rating.
You know what's insane,
Tyrod Taylor had a 25.9 quarterback rating. I mean,
you know what's bonkers is that he's still on pace, Justin Fields, because of the first 3 weeks are carrying him. He's still on pace to set a career high in average quarterback rating. He's not going to get that chance now because Aaron Glenn's going to play quarterback hot potato all over the next few weeks. But whatever. I mean, good for the Panthers, 4-3. I'm going to celebrate them in the way that I would say that Derek Brown is a legitimate defensive player of the year candidate. I said that last week. I mean, he's allowing Evero to actually have a functional defense, and he replaces like 3 guys that you would need to put in the box at this point. But other than that, I mean, now we gotta, and I hate to be this guy, but it was the Jets, it was the Cowboys, and it was the Dolphins. And 2 of those 3 teams have completely given up on the season. And now I need to see, like, let's go and get it. Let's go get it. And hopefully that's the case. And okay, I guess Falcons fans or Panthers fans are gonna say, what about the Falcons game? But shut up.
The Jets fans need to start watching like Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore and Garrett Nussmeier and whoever else, right?
Sellers, right? All those
Sellers,
guys.
yeah. I think the names have sort of changed since the start of the college season. I don't know.
I agree.
I'm not positive this is going to be a great year to have a high pick. We'll see. But there are a few names out there that are worth watching.
The Giants look smart going up and getting Jackson Dart last year.
Maybe.
Just saying. Chiefs 31, Raiders nothing. I mean, this is just
here come the Chiefs. Here come the Chiefs. I tried to tell people too. I mean, it's just like it was so obvious this was going to happen, and all the morning shows doing the the eulogies for the Chiefs dynasty and everything. Or you sound stupid.
You
And
do.
from here on out, if you do it again, you deserve to be called on it. You sound like a moron. All
Well,
right.
you know what? If
Anyway,
you
and
do it again,
we saw this for 20 years with Belichick and Brady, and now it's Reed and Mahomes in those two spots. If you think short of like some sort of weird rash of injuries, they're not going to be down there. They're not going to be there at the end. Then you deserve anything that's coming to you.
I agree. And you know what? If you do it again, it's performative. You're being Skip Bayless and you're going to get found out until this thing is actually over. And my God, I mean, with the Patriots and Bill Belichick, we saw it. We know what it looks like when it's over.
Yep.
But just on this front, so we had with Kansas City, first 3 possessions with Rashee Rice in 9 plays, 92 yards, touchdown, 17 plays, 84 yards, touchdown, 16 plays, 94 yards, touchdown. The Chiefs were so good in this game that the Raiders ran 30 plays, which is the least amount of plays that an offense has run since I think it was True Media began tracking it like more than a decade ago. It's just insane.
Let's also just mention that the quarterback's playing at an MVP level again.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's no question. I don't think he's ever stopped. And I want people to go back and listen to our opening weekend podcast after they lost to the Chargers. And I said that was one of the best Patrick Mahomes games I've ever seen. And everyone's like, you're an idiot. And guess what? I knew that he had another level this year, and I could see it. And now we're seeing it that he has actual talent.
People who dry hump stats probably prefer sheet music to listening to the song.
I could get a good look at a team. No, I'm kidding. So
Pete Philippe, the great philosopher.
2 more. So we can just give me one line on this. The Patriots go and demolish the Titans 31-13. Oddly, Cam Ward's best game, probably. And offense actually looked a little cohesive. They were winning in this for a little while. I thought Mike McCoy was going to pull off a little interim shocker, but Patriots scored 14 points in the second and the third quarter. And big Ramondre Stevenson game. New England, man, like they're going to the playoffs. That's crazy.
Yeah, and their schedule is really light. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be impossible for Drake May to keep up this pace. But he's in the MVP conversation now, I'd say, with a handful of other guys, with Baker Mayfield, with Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's playing at an insane level. Josh McDaniels deserves credit for it. And obviously, I think with Vrabel, you see just a play style and like a healing of all the things that organization effed up over the last 4 or 5 years. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. I think they're pretty thin. So if they have a few injuries in the wrong places, that could be problematic, but looks good so far for sure.
Absolutely. And last, I was going to say, but not least. I mean,
last and least.
last is, the Bears 26, Saints 14.
No, it's not last and least, but yeah.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift, huge game.
And that's, and two, Kyle Monangai too, 13 carries, 81 yards, 6 yards a carry. That's what we were waiting for. And it happened last week too. I mean, they off the bye, they fixed the running game. And that has been a game changer for Ben Johnson, for that offense. It makes the defense better. Dennis Allen got his revenge game thing, which I was like, it was so weird because like, it's not like the Saints did Dennis Allen dirty. Like he got to stay for a while, but anyway, Dennis Allen got his revenge ball and he was talking about how, oh, nobody wants you. And it's like, well, they did pay $5 million a year to, finish like 8 and 9 or whatever it was for a couple seasons. So it's not like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but the Bears are off the schneid, baby.
College coach with those buyouts, but pretty good.
I agree.
That, by the way, like before we finish up, that's my favorite new trend is like how the Sunday 1:00 window has now become like where you bury firing of your coach in college football. Sort of like, suspensions coming out in the NFL on the Friday before 4th of July weekend, where now we have Penn State last week, we have Florida this week. So if you want to bury your big time college coaching firing, you release it as Scott Hansen is warming up red zone.
The witching hour. And we fired Mike McDaniel. Just by the way, to close out the pod, report from NFL Network that no changes in Miami are imminent. And so we will leave you with that. Thank you guys, as always, for being a part of the MMQB family. Saw a great tweet the other day. Someone had said that this was his favorite new football podcast discovery this season, and gosh, just means a lot to us. And we're having a blast hanging out with you guys and talking ball. So we will see you on Wednesday. Pray for us, because Albert and I are going to try to stay up. I'm going to go make another cup of coffee for the 10 p.m. Monday Night Football.
Let's go.
My God, let's go.